Today we taste...
Our Irish Mead.
Now, we made this fairly recently. We just bottled it a few days ago, like literally a few days ago. And this is the half bottle. It's been chilled. So this is our tester. Tester. This mead is not very old. It's, what was it, like 6 weeks? Something like that? 7 weeks? Really very young. So I'm not expecting it to be like the best thing I've ever put in my mouth, but it actually looks really nice. It's a great color.
I enjoyed it when we did the initial test. But anyway, so I'm anticipating enjoying it now.
The bit of cloudiness that you're seeing is from it being cold. It's not from a lack of clarity. This is super clear. Looks like honey water.
Yeah, it did look like it settled out, and when Brian poured it, it reactivated.
Oh, yeah.
So there is some sediment in this bottle. This was the last one that we
so it probably picked up a
filled,
little.
so it may have got the majority of any residual sediment that was in the beverage.
By the way, you will notice that we are using Glencairn glasses today because I wanted to drink from a mug, but last time I did that, I really couldn't get any of the aroma. So,
and the reason
Glencairns are great for
that is the design of the vessel. You'll notice that this is tulip shaped so that it is smaller at the aperture than it is at the base, meaning that it's going to focus those aromas up so you can...
And when you do this, you swirl it a little bit.
Get all those
it makes
nuances.
It just swirls it right up and concentrates it. So you can get the smell. It smells to me like the tea wine a lot, really. I get a little bit of honey on it.
I almost
It's very floral.
get a coffee note.
I don't. But that's the cool part, is you'll get different things.
When I breathe in with my mouth just slightly open, that changes the different types of notes
I don't know
that you
that
can
it's
get.
coffee,
And
but there's something
there's
like
something
that.
that gets like in the back of my throat that makes me think of coffee.
Interesting. Anyway. Short sip. That's where you just take it in your mouth and swallow it. You don't hold anything. You don't think about it too much. It's
to get your palate acclimated to this beverage.
Yeah, but that was nice.
It was nice. It was very honey forward.
Very tea.
And very
I get
tea.
like an herbal tea.
And I
can't differentiate the elderflower from the heather tips, though.
I have that tea aftertaste.
Yeah, definitely. There's some tannic quality to it.
And tannic, yeah.
So it's got a thicker, richer mouthfeel and a fairly long finish. Like after you swallow, it still kind of lingers for a while. The honey character is actually pretty prominent. It's not overpowering by any means, but it's definitely like honey.
Yeah.
Now for the long sip that we just did, you leave it a little bit longer, let it roll around your mouth a little. To me, that was much more pleasurable. What is this? 13.2%. This is not weak stuff. This isn't like, 8 or 9%. I don't really taste the alcohol so much.
I get a hint of citrus, but it's not overly powering.
Yeah, just a touch of the lemon. People thought that the lemon was the wrong flavor. Somebody said, wouldn't orange have been better? Now, we went with lemon because lemons were traded in the 1500s. Oranges weren't as common. They were there, but they weren't as common. So that's why we went with, I went with lemon. And the reason for that was they were afraid the lemon might overpower. I don't think so at all. I think it complemented this really, really nicely.
And there were one of the herbs, I don't remember which one, that had a citrus fragrance to it.
I think it was the
initially.
The heather tips had a little bit of a citrusy.
I am wondering if a majority of those citrus-like notes are actually coming from that rather than the lemon itself.
It's very possible. It's not very lemony.
No.
But there's a hint of it. And I think it just adds that little bright spark of acidity that really makes this work really well. You probably noticed that the progression. When we first tasted this, I was like, it's okay. The second time, I was like, it's a little better. This time, I actually like this. I don't know that I would reach for it all on its own, but I might. It's like on that borderline for me. It came out really wonderful.
It has kind of an almost a bitter note, but it's more like a tea type of bitter than a...
Yeah. This comes across a lot like a traditional mead to me, like a basic mead, with a little bit of floral and tea notes, rather than a floral tea mead with some honey flavors. It really comes across more like a traditional. That's probably why I like it.
And if you didn't know what was in it and you were just drinking it and knew that it was a mead, you might think it was a heavily floral influenced wildflower honey that was used to make it.
Yeah.
Because it all tastes part of the honey.
It melded.
Yes.
Is what it did. It just came together beautifully. I'm actually really proud of this. I'm because basically the summation of the traditional Irish mead is this. There's really no such thing. They made mead. They made lots of it and they drank lots of mead. But there was no one recipe that was indigenous to Ireland. They made a wide variety. So all I did was use stuff that they could find. Now a couple people have told me that hazelnuts were very popular in their mead back then.
Wasn't there another one that said mugwort or something?
Meadowsweet.
Meadowsweet, that's right.
Yeah, and both of those things might be. I didn't find a lot on them. So there's probably a lot of variation and a lot of things that they added to their mead. And that makes it all good. So anything that you can really get in an area, to me, makes it a fairly authentic, traditional type of mead. And to me, this is something that people in Ireland probably did drink. Something very close to this. So I'm actually quite proud of this, that it turned out the way it did, the little bit of research that we did. And
it is very interesting, and there's hints of some of the other meads that we've made in this, but it's still very unique and different all on its own.
Now, what would you drink this with?
I'm thinking lamb.
Corned beef and cabbage.
Oh, see? Yeah.
I would totally do this with corned beef and cabbage. It actually would work really well because that little bitterness would work with the slightly astringent taste of a cabbage.
Sure.
And then you got the salty, fatty corned beef to cut through that and the potatoes to just kind of neutralize it all out. I think that would be awesome. Now I want to make corned beef and cabbage and have this with it. Anything else? Some hearty soups, like winter type stuff. It's almost a spiced mead.
Yeah, I'm curious what this would actually taste like heated.
You know what I'm curious about? What it would taste like oaked. We do have some oak staves that we should use. Would I drink this all on its own? Would I cook with it? Or would I only drink it with food? This is very much on the cusp. I would cook with this. I would totally cook with this. I would drink this with food, and I think I could pour a mug of this and drink it. I think I could.
Yeah.
You ready to give a score?
Oh, a number?
You got to do a number. So a lot of people have been giving me a hard time saying that I'm too rough and I don't seem to like anything. No, what you have to understand is I have very high standards. A 10 to me is like the ultimate best. It will never improve. I couldn't do any better.
I was giving lower numbers than you were.
You give less range than I do.
Oh, okay.
But I gave like a 7 and somebody got mad at me for it. To me, though, the higher you get, the harder it is. Like less and less and less should be that high. And it's not that I don't like my own meads. I do. I mean, to me, a 5 is good. I mean, that's something I would totally drink. But once you hit the 8 and 9 territory, now it's almost like there's very little you can do to improve this.
Yeah.
So, I look at it from that perspective. You ready?
Yes.
1, 2, 3, go.
6.
7. Ooh, very close this time, though.
I'm still very intrigued because my brain wants this warmed.
Oh, you could. Well, maybe we'll do a mulling and an
towards
oaking video.
A mulling kind of scenario, and so I'm thinking warmed. Would I like it more? I think it's the tea notes and the
You're thinking like a toddy.
mulled cider notes that make me want it to be warm.
I can see that, and I mean, you can mull mead just as much as you can mull wine, so go for it.
Well, it feels like it's pre-mulled. It just needs to be heated.
Oh, you just want it heated. You don't even want to add it.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. I hadn't actually considered it that way.
Yeah.
I really like this. I just thought this came out really, really wonderful. I'm really curious to see what it does in a year. So watch out for that video. Obviously, it'll be like a year from now. But, and if you like this video, just look up right about there. There'll be other videos. You should go watch them.